Ski jumpers who had their wings clipped by the October closure of 4 training hills at Canmore Olympic Park in Calgary have fanned out far and wide to keep the dream alive. Local club jumpers flock to a small hill in Canmore. Provincial-level athletes trained in Whistler and will do the same at Park City, Utah. There is a Canadian jumper practicing with a club in France, 2 others in Slovenia, which is the acknowledged home of European ski jumping. There will likely be Canadians at training camps in Norway soon, invited there by sympathetic ski jumping officials. "We've had tremendous outreach from Slovenia and Norway," said Ski Jumping Canada chair Todd Stretch. "They're very concerned and they're saying, 'How can we help you, Canada? We don't want to see Canada fade away.' They've said we can help you with coaching, with camps and accommodations. That part is really good, but we need to ensure we have the grassroots, so we have kids continuously coming into the program." The ski jumping community's response to being shut down by Winsport, the non-profit corporation that operates COP, is plucky and admirable. It's also unsustainable. Provincial-level athletes need 700 jumps a year if they are to fly the flag on the World Cup circuit one day. It will take considerably more money to continuously send promising Canadians to Utah, Slovenia and Norway for that experience than it would to train them in Calgary. "We're cognizant that it has to make economic sense for the families and the athletes," said Stretch. Ski Jumping Canada and Winsport have long argued over funding to keep some jumps open. 3 years ago, Stretch knew the time to fly the COP nest was fast approaching. "We realized during the negotiations with Winsport that we can't be here every 3 years fighting for survival, with Winsport holding the keys to our house," said Stretch. "If we wanted to focus long-term, we needed a better location and facility in order to take us there. The solution could be a new Calgary Nordic Park featuring 3 ski jumps, groomed trails for cross-country skiing and a shooting range for biathlon. There is a strong appetite for a rebuild on a Calgary Nordic Center. We got our draft plan. We're working on it," said Stretch, who has been in contact with officials from Nordic combined, cross-country skiing and biathlon. "I think that's really the direction it needs to go. Building a new Nordic Center, multiple Nordic Centers actually, across Canada, but Calgary would most likely be the first focus because we have a culture here for it," said Stretch. "We have participation, we have a community that endorses physical activity. What they don't have yet is land or the $7 to $10 million he believes is necessary to get the vision built. They will in time seek federal and provincial money for the project." He said the response from the city of Calgary has been encouraging and he has already heard from a business interested in purchasing the naming rights to the park. Winsport, originally known as the Calgary Olympic Development Association, was incorporated in 1979 to bring the Games to Cowtown. After securing the Olympics, its mandate was amended in 1984 to foster the development of world-class Canadian athletes, administer millions in Olympic endowment funds, operate COP and encourage formation of sport organizations. It has proven an expensive mandate. CEO Barry Heck said Winsport generates revenues of $35 million annually and always runs an operating deficit. He said it's $3 million now, and when paired with $3 million spent annually on capital repairs and maintenance, Winsport is taking $6 million each year from its reserves. He said Winsport used to cover the deficit with earnings from the Olympic Endowment Fund, which totaled $121 million in June 2017, but the scope of the business and its deficit has outgrown those earnings. "Obviously the current model is not sustainable," said Heck. "We are using $6 million a year in excess cash right now. It doesn't take too long for people to realize you're not going to operate very long like that, so they look for ways to cut costs, and ski jumps were always high on the list." The 90-meter hill, made famous during the 1988 Winter Olympics by high-flying Finn Matti Nykänen and the lowbrow comedy of Eddie the Eagle Edwards, had long cast an iconic and somewhat ironic shadow over COP. The concrete monolith known as K114 hasn't played host to a live ski jumper in 15 years, but because it generates revenue as a cell phone tower and zip line anchor, it will remain intact. A cash infusion of $1 million from the insurance company Aviva had kept some other jumps open in 2015, but the sponsorship agreement ended in 2018 and Ski Jumping Canada couldn't raise the $350,000 Winsport wanted to keep 3 jumps operational. All 4 remaining jumps in the complex, K18, K38, K63 and K89, were decommissioned and will likely be dismantled. It's a blatant disregard for high-performance sport, said Stretch. Heck said Winsport provides $7 million yearly to support high-performance sport at COP and the Olympic Oval, but it's only one of their mandates. The others are developing provincial-level athletes and serving the general Calgary community. He also said Winsport was intended to be flexible and adaptive. What goes on the ski hill now on the development and high-performance side really wasn't around in '88. We've got a world-class moguls pitch, we've got slope-style jumps, we've got a half-pipe that right now is probably the best in the world. We're developing a new training center for all the freestyle skiing sports, and the community and the development athletes. We have adapted and pivoted extremely prudently, I would suggest, over the last 30 years. Ski jumping officials point to the zip line and tube ride as contrary to the COTA mandate. We would all like to know, when did the mandate for Winsport change from being a center for high-performance sport in Canada to becoming a theme park, a playland, said Mike Bodnarchuk, chair of Alberta Ski Jumping and Nordic Combined. When did zip lines and tube parks become part of the Olympic legacy? Bodnarchuk, Stretch and others in the ski jumping community are frustrated after tilting too long at the Winsport windmill. They dispute Winsport's contention that the cost to maintain 4 jumps had escalated to $500,000 annually, and that the jumps couldn't be used this season without major repairs. They never provided any line items or any budgets to prove any of this. This was all their hearsay. It was just astounding to us that it was constantly going up, said Bodnarchuk. Heck said Winsport opened its books to the ski jumping community. They have seen everything. We have benchmarked our costs against Whistler. The costs are what they are. We're not making this up. There is also disagreement over what happened to a $600,000 grant given by the Alberta government to Ski Jumping Canada in 2005, then handed over to COTA. I can tell you 100% that $600,000 was not spent refurbishing those jumps, said Bodnarchuk. If it was, we wouldn't be having that conversation today, at least within the context of them being beyond their lifespan, according to Winsport, and that they need to be closed because they're unsafe. Neither of which is true, by the way. Venues director Mike Tanner, who has been with COTA, Winsport since 1986, provided a list of ski jump projects he said were funded by the $600,000, erosion control, inline grooming, installation of snowmaking lines and sediment control. An inspector from Austria was brought into Calgary last October to assess the jump complex. Stretch said he told them the jumps could have 10 years left in them, with some repair work first. Winsport said they didn't have the money for that work. They're safe. Our kids jump on them, said Bodnarchuk. We get 10,000 jumps out of them every year. We're just absolutely flabbergasted that Winsport has stuck to this party line. And we're also extremely disappointed at the lack of response from government levels to step in and take a stance. They seem to be very content to let a proud legacy wither in the wind and blow away. Had Calgary secured the 2026 Winter Olympics, the Games would have refreshed that legacy with $100 million in capital upgrades at COP and a topping up of the endowment funds, so it would have been '88 all over again. It would have set us up for the next 40 years, said Heck. Instead, they are forced to take stock. The day lodge needs a replacement. The snowmaking system needs capital. The jumps are already closed and the sliding track could be next. Winsport has touched the brakes on a $25 million renovation of the luge bobsled and skeleton track, citing a shortfall of $8 million to finish the job. They're also publicly mulling the wisdom in their capacity to spend what they say is $750,000 annually to subsidize the track operation. We, together with our stakeholders, have to decide what we can continue to do, said Heck. Winsport does not have the financial wherewithal to be all things to everyone. D. Barnes at postmedia.com, twitter.com/sportsdanbarnes.